I got to soar amongst the clouds. I got to soar amongst the clouds. I got to soar above the clouds. Nothing is going to stop my purpose.
Having wondered whether you gave it all you got, because it's going to transfer into the man you become when you leave here, and most importantly, it's going to be your identity. When you get tired, when you get fatigued, when you get down, when you're in a slump, it's your habits, rituals, routines, and your standards that carry you through.
So whether you have talent, whether you don't, the only thing that matters is, will you persevere? Will you stick with it long enough to get great?
Nothing is going to stop my purpose. Because I got the attitude like an eagle. So keep on flying high. Don't let the rejection stop you. Don't let people tell you that you're not good enough. If you got an idea, then stand on it. If you got something in you and you want to share it with the world, put it out there. Maybe everybody is not going to listen. Maybe everybody doesn't want to hear what you got to say. Maybe everybody doesn't want you in their camp. You got to be that eagle. You got to get up. You got to fly. You got to soar. Sometimes you may want to come down, but you got to fly back up again.
All right, so here's the challenge that I have. So there are two groups of people walking the earth. Right? You got one group right now. Now, both groups have these dreams and these goals. Both groups, from the time that they were young, saw things on television, read things in books. They physically saw people doing things. And it was like, yo, I want to do that. Like, I want that. I remember being a kid, you know, and I used to watch the Brady Bunch. And I used to be like, yo, I want a family like that. I remember watching it. See, my mom had me. She got pregnant at 17 with me. I didn't really start talking to my biological father, like literally having a conversation with my biological father until I was 30. So as a child, because I didn't have that, you know, traditional home, I remember looking at the Brady Bunch going, I remember, oh, Leave It to Beaver. Leave It to Beaver. Like, I just like that, you know, as Cleavers, like, they just had it going on. You know what I'm saying? They never like really argued. You know what I'm saying? Like, they worked everything out. Everybody like had roles and it was just, they were great.
Sometimes you got to cruise, but you gotta be powerful even when you're cruising. Ego attitude is such a beautiful thing. It's truly magnificent. Just look at that eagle. Do you have that mindset? Do you trust in your abilities? Do you know that you have something special within yourself? Or do you trust in the things that people said you couldn't do? Did you let the world show you that you didn't have what it takes to be what you wanted to be? You never see an eagle complaining. You never see an eagle whining and worrying about how it's going to get its meal. The eagle knows what it must do.
Right? And so I remember growing up, like, yo, one day, like, this is my reality. But one day I'm gonna have a family just like Leave It to Beaver. Like, I remember saying it to myself. And I remember friends, like, they want to drive these kind of cars and live in these type of neighborhoods. I wasn't really thinking about that kind of stuff. I was just like, you know what? Like, one day I just want to have a happy family. Like, I want to come home and I want my kids to, like, run up to me, Dad. When they get older, I want them to be proud of me. Right? I just had these dreams. I'm gonna put my kids through college. They're not gonna have to pay for college. I'm gonna put them through college. Like, they're gonna go to, you know, these big colleges and whatever. I had dreams. Right? I had dreams. And so what I want you to do for me is, I want you to, and I know a lot of you are adults and you're adulting, and sometimes you don't have time for dreams and goals and stuff. Right? But I want you to do me a favor. Like, don't let life do you like that.
As Thomas Edison said, our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is to always try one more time. I know there are going to be a million times in your life where you want to give up, where you absolutely ache with the desire to quit, where nothing sits inside of your gut other than the certainty that you are going to fail, that you are not good enough to push forward. But that is to fundamentally misunderstand the nature of a failure. The nature of a failure is not to tell you who you are. The nature of a failure is to tell you a way that didn't work. It's to inform. It's to educate you. It's to test you. It's to be a gut check to find out if you believe in yourself enough to push forward even when the world seems to be telling you not to.
If you don't have good habits, you don't have good rituals, you don't have good routines, always in your life you will fall down in bad times, in slumps and fatigue and in stress.
I don't believe in faking it till you make it. You know what entrepreneurship is, right? It's the greatest self-discovery process in the history of mankind. If you learn more about yourself, what you don't know, your resiliency, how tough you are, what your weaknesses are by being an entrepreneur. It's probably the greatest self-discovery program in the history of the world. It's also this. It's the greatest self-improvement program with the highest compensation package possibly attached to it too. That's what entrepreneurship is, a self-improvement program with massive compensation package attached to it. And that's why too many of you are too focused on growing your company and not focused enough on growing you, because your company will never, ever exceed your identity or your vision.
And as Brian Tracy said, attempt the impossible in order to improve your work. Think about that for a second. Attempt the impossible just to get better, to try the things that you know are going to fail, things that the world is going to tell you simply cannot be. But even if it violates the laws of physics, if there's something in that attempt that you're going to learn, you owe it to yourself. You have a fucking moral obligation to try. Because all of the people that will lie in your wake are the people that didn't try simply because they didn't believe that they could do it. You have to be willing to look at the world. You have to be willing to see things that you yourself think are impossible and try. Because in that you will stretch yourself. You have to be willing to look inward at the state of your current skill set and say, I'm going to play outside of that. I'm not going to play where it's safe.
Forward. You got to grow you, because what will happen when it starts to grow, you'll start making unconscious mistakes to shrink it, making bad calls, getting weak, getting lazy, making mistakes. You're all nodding because you've all done it, because at some point your business got ahead of you. It will never exceed your identity and your vision, because if the company catches your vision, the company catches your identity, you're dying.
One of the things that human beings underestimate dramatically is their capacity to get great at something if they're totally immersed in it. Totally laser focused on something. But as I've coached the very high-end athletes in my life, the top business people and entertainers, I can tell you that most people underestimate what total obsessive laser focused really is and what it looks like, because you are way more powerful than you know you are if you went crazy, psycho, obsessed, laser focused on anything, even something you're totally ill-prepared for. Humans have an unreal capacity to get great at things, even if they don't have a natural talent for it, if they're immersed in it, and to learn something and acquire a ton of knowledge in a short period of time as well.
I'm going to play where it hurts. I'm going to play where I feel clumsy. I'm going to play only in the areas that make me feel stupid, because in that I know that the way that the brain responds is through adaptation, but I have to stress myself. You can't ever lose sight of that. The only way that the human animal adapts is through stress. You have to be willing to break things in order to build something new. So if you want to push the boundaries, if you want to see just how far you can go, if you want to succeed at the highest level, if you want to play on a global scale, you have got to be willing to try the impossible, because right now, the things that you need to do are impossible for you, but they won't remain that way forever. And as Aristotle said, pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. This doesn't have to be a tale of always being terrified. Everybody, myself included, screaming at you, telling you that you need to go do something great. The part they're leaving out is why the fuck should you care? Why do I care about influence? I care about influence because businesses are built on people. People have all these weird bugs in the system. They act f***ing weird. Like, people act weird. They act crazy. They act at total odds from what they say they want.
To do the job, to live your life, and protect yourself from all of the things that may affect your life. There are people right now that have been told that they're worthless.
The next step is being a leader. You have to decide that you want to lead. You have to step forward. That means not being like everybody else in your school. I don't care if you're in 6th grade or you're in college right now. It's being a leader.
I've come to learn that there's a huge difference between failing and failure. Failing is like stubbing your toe, you know it happens. It's a verb, you know it's just something you do. But failure is a noun, it's an identity. It's a place of where you stay, and I failed a lot along the way, but I was never a failure because I kept trying, I kept doing it. I understood over time that my value wasn't representative of the things that worked or didn't work.
It's really bizarre. And one of the things, it's bizarre until you really get into the psychology of why it is. Once you understand why it is, then you can have some influence over it. So that really is the thing nobody talks about. And I'm always weirded out how nobody talks about emotion. Nobody wants to connect. Brene Brown talks about vulnerability. If you don't know Brene Brown, look her up. Dude, I will be the most vulnerable cat whenever, because it tells people I'm real. It gives you real insight into me as a human being. Now, why is that important? Because you know, I wouldn't do it if it didn't move me towards my goals. So even vulnerability for me is a strategy. But the reason it works is because I'm opening myself up as a human being.
Connection regrets are, if only I'd reached out. And these are regrets about relationships, where you have a relationship, or you should have had a relationship, and it comes apart, usually through drifts, and you want to reach out, but you don't because you think it's going to be awkward and the other side's not going to care, so it drifts out even more. And then in some cases, it ends up being too late. And so these 4 regrets, to me, reveal what makes life worth living. What do we want out of life? We want a stable foundation. We want some stability. We want a chance to do something. We want a chance to learn and grow and lead a psychologically rich life.
You're connecting with people on a real level. It is just a truth. Human beings want to connect with authentic people. And the people they distrust the most are the ones that they can't understand their motives. When you don't understand someone's motives, I'll speak for myself. When I don't understand someone's motives, they freak me out. I can feel them trying to move me around the chessboard, and I don't know why. I don't mind when I feel someone moving me around the chessboard when I know why they're doing it, because then I can decide if I want to move or not. But if I don't know why, there's just that resistance to being moved, the unknown, the unease that causes. So once I fully accepted that I was dealing with humans, that they didn't want to feel me moving them around the chessboard, that they would respond. If I opened myself up to them, they would open themselves up to me, that they would open themselves up to each other, that we could really get some teamwork and some cohesion. If I hired for compassion, which is it just works in human societies. Humans are a social animal.
We want to do the right thing. I'm convinced that most of us want to do the right thing. And what else do we want? We want love. We want connection to other people. And that's what makes life worth living. In a weird way, regret also taught me about what makes a good life, because I had, collected 16,000 regrets from people in 105 countries. And when they told me their regret, in a sense, they were also telling me about what made life worth living.
How do I turn that? Like, how do I take something that feels like it hurts and turn it into progress?
This is important. In some ways, it's central. Regret hurts. There's no question about that. But here's the thing. Regret also instructs, and you can't have one without the other. So if you avoid the pain, you don't get any of the learning. So what you have to do is be able to process that pain. And I think there's a way for us to do that, to take our regrets, use them as signals.
It was so frustrating because I was chasing an idea of value, not understanding that I was valued to begin with. A crumpled up 20 bill is still 20. It doesn't lose its value when it's beaten up. You have a right to what you're feeling. But just because you feel it doesn't mean it's real. I'm going to acknowledge that I don't like this, but I'm also going to acknowledge that I don't want to stay in this feeling, because if I already have to go through this diabetes, I already have to go through being different.
That they won't amount to anything. And they have allowed their emotions and their feelings to get disrupted. And ladies and gentlemen, you allow these things to happen because you're not protecting yourself. So you got to suit up. You got to put on that armor. You got to be a little bit more faithful. You have to understand that there is a purpose behind the purpose. And there is a greater power than you and I.
It's not being one of the guys. It's not being part of the pack. It's being different than other people. It's thinking different than other people. It's learning early in life that other people's approval, your friends, your buddies liking everything you do and believing in everything you do is not going to get you where you want in life. It's being a leader. It's being a visionary. It's being unique. It's stepping out. And when you're young, you're going to take criticism for it. You're going to take flack for being different, for not going with the flow, for not drinking with everybody or smoking weed with everybody. Stay away from those things when you're young. Stay away from them when you're old if you can. These are not the practices of people that win. Let everybody else smoke and do drugs and smoke weed and get in trouble and go down that path, and you lead. You step out, you be different, you be extraordinary, and you be proud of the fact that you're different.
I already have to go through feeling like a monster. I don't have to beat myself up in my own head. If you get a flat tire on the side of the road, you don't set your car on fire. You deal with the flat tire, but that's what I felt like I was doing, and a lot of people set the car on fire instead of addressing the main issue. They'd build upon it and make it worse. How can I become more than what's happened to me? How can I become more than the circumstance that I hate? But how can I not let the hate towards the circumstance?
No matter how you look at things, you can't do it alone. But you better put on that armor. Don't glorify yourself. Because you're only passing through. Suit up that armor. And be about your business. Because that's what we have to do. Don't take your life for granted. Don't feel that you cannot be touched. Because you must know, keep that armor on, carry on, and live strong. And from the bottom of my heart, keep the faith, look up, and conduct your business. The question is, why do we fall?
The next thing is you got to work on your self-confidence, right? You got to become more confident. You know when you're listening, it's something you don't have enough of. Self-confidence is the process, listen to me, of keeping the promises that you make to yourself. When you begin to make a promise, I'm going to get up at a certain time, or I'm going to clean my room, I'm going to get a certain grade, I'm going to study, I'm going to do something, deliver on the promise you make to yourself. Not what you promise your parents or you promise your friends, what you promise you. When you begin to stack what you promise yourself and you deliver on it, you begin to build a reputation with yourself that you can trust you, and that will serve you the rest of your life when you trust and you like you. That's self-confidence. Keep the promises you make to yourself. The next part is start to work on your self-worth, your identity, which is different than just your confidence. Self-worth means I deserve this. I'm worth this. And that comes from doing the hard work. That comes from being unique. It comes from noticing it when you're a leader, noticing it when you do things other people don't do, noticing it when you turn away from bullying somebody and you're the kind one, or you interrupt someone who's bullying and you stop it.
I can't control me. You know, sometimes we get addicted to this, like making everything beautiful, making everything like amazing, and sometimes we have to be real. Some situations do suck, they do, and we have to allow them to suck and not invalidate the fact that it does suck. My job is to not let my mind take over. And that's when I win and when I lose and everything in between. You have a choice between what you think and what you do, and that choice is everything is everything.
Because if you're holding on to things, if you're holding on to excuses, if you're holding on to fear, then there's no faith. Whether you win, whether you lose, don't give up. If you lose, lose. Humble yourself, work harder, and go again. Competition, that's life. Doesn't matter what you got going on. If you're in sports, doesn't matter. Somebody out there is a little bit hungrier than you are, then you got to get a little bit hungrier than them. If something out there that is chasing you and trying to destroy you and bring you down and trying to take everything from you, you got to be greater than the things that is trying to take you out.
And the sooner you realize it's going to be a dog fight. Okay, so let me just say this to you. So in America, right, and I'm sure it's the same thing here, but they're in our armed forces. Let's just pick one, the Navy, for instance. We just pick the Navy, right? Well, let me tell you guys, this is good. Listen to me very closely. The first thing they teach you Somebody over here, help me out. You were in the Navy, right? They're teaching you war, right? What's the first thing they teach you? Boot camp, the very first, somebody jump over here, just take a wild guess. What's the first thing they teach soldiers? Good, courage, okay, this side. Discipline. So give me something practical. What's the first practical thing that they would teach you? Say it again. Defending yourself, somebody over here. How to swim, listen to me very closely. The first thing they teach you, the very first thing they teach you is how to respond when you have a jam gun. And number 2, how to carry your dead body. That's the first thing they teach you. They don't teach you how to defend yourself. They don't teach you how to swim. The first thing they teach you is when your gun is jammed. The first thing they teach you is a dead body, how to carry a dead body.
This is your time right now. And it's only a short time. You got a short window. Don't let that window close. Get through it and go after it. Believe in it and understand it, because it's yours. If you're gonna lose, make sure you do it the right way. Quitting is easy. Anybody can do it. If you fail, learn from it and build on it. But don't you give up. Fight, push, dig, and go after it. And make the most of your life. Stand tall and believe in it and work at it each and every day of your life. Let the challenges come. Do whatever you gotta do. And keep it moving.
And somebody tell me, why would they start you there? That's the worst case scenario. That's what you're not prepared for. That's what you're not thinking. You're not thinking when you go out there to defend yourself that your gun is gonna jam. You're not thinking when you go out there that your boy gonna get killed and you gotta drag. You're not thinking that. So listen to me. It's not hardships that hurt us. It's not my cousin getting shot twice. It's not my cousin spending 50 years in jail. It's not my aunt dying of cancer. It's not my wife being diagnosed with 7 lesions on her brain that will break you. What will break most people is you didn't prepare for that. So when you put all your little goals and all your little dreams together, it's not the thing that broke you. It was you never even thought about the fact that you could be broken. You never prepared.
So, again, I'm sorry, I should have made that. I should make that more clearly, and I'm trying to make it more clearly now. And like my parents are good people. They had successful careers as educators in public schools. And my mom eventually went into school administration. And my dad taught in high school for 30-something years. And they were good, hardworking people. And but I'll tell you, they were no extraordinary preachers of discipline. And I'll tell you, I never remember either one of them ever using the term or referring to discipline in any way. And actually both my parents worked. They both worked a lot.
You never prepared for worst case scenario. And the reason why ET is standing here, because I'm prepared for it. If you know anything about me, I still lay on floors. I still eat chips off the floor. I still do some stuff that to most people is crazy, like, E.T., why would you do that? Because I'm always prepared that we may not live in that house one day. One day something might happen, and we might have to go back to that. And if I have to go back to that, it's not going to break me. So I present to you a diamond. Most women love them. And most men spend a lot of money on them. I'm going to say it again. Most women love them. And most guys have to work a long time to be able to get a nice one. The thing we covet the most, for a diamond to be produced, it must first go through extreme heat. Extreme heat. Extreme pressure. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? For a diamond to be produced, it has to go through extreme pressure. Extreme heat. And if that wasn't enough, what makes a diamond is the cut. So you are put through, if you want to be a diamond, you must go through extreme pressure. If you can't take pressure, then you're not a diamond.
When you have a bigger purpose to why you're doing what you're doing, and you want to honor the sacrifices that others have made for you, it's nothing for you to keep going when you hit adversity. If every decision and choice you make is just about you, at a certain point you're going to hit something that's a lot tougher than you, and it's going to make you quit because you don't have a driving force for why you do what you do. But when I got up to the University of Tennessee, it was simple. It was simple for me to give everything I had. My freshman year, I played special teams. My sophomore season, I broke the starting lineup, had a really strong sophomore season. The summer heading into my junior year, I still remember the day where I was sitting in our film room. I was watching film on the California Bears. My defensive backs coach, Larry Slade, came in the room. He said, Inky, I got some good news for you. I dropped the clicker. I said, what is it? He said, man, you're a projected top 30 draft pick, son. He said, all you have to do is play the next 10 football games. You're an automatic multimillionaire.
My dad was coaching sports and we're doing after school stuff. My mom, same thing. Like, we were on our own a bunch. My parents were gone in the morning. We got ourselves to school. When we got home in the afternoon, they weren't home. So it wasn't like they were setting up this rigid, disciplined manner for me, right? Yeah. And you can see this with families, many, many different families. There's families that have kids that the parents are very disciplined and the kids are wild and out of control. Sometimes it problematically so, right? Kids that come from really good families, but they get addicted to drugs, lack of discipline. Kids that come from really good families, but they spin out of control and go in the wrong direction. And there's also the opposite, which is, hey, the parents weren't around, or the parents were abusive, or the parents were drug addicts, and all of a sudden the kid comes out of that and is squared away, is awesome. And we saw that all the time in the SEAL teams. And I've said that before on this program. It doesn't matter where your background is. It's what you decide to do.
Yeah. I went out of the room. I called my mother and my grandmother on the three-way. I said, after this season, there will be no more struggle. I said, we would never miss another meal. I said, we would never experience another Christmas where we have to stand on the side of the curb and just be grateful. And I hung it up. First football game, I went out, played great, got an interception, shut Cal down. Second game, we're playing against Air Force, got late in the game, fourth quarter, guy dropped back, he threw the ball to a receiver coming down my sideline. Me and the guy, we went head on. As soon as I hit the guy, I felt as if every breath in my body left. Body went completely limp, fell to the ground, I blacked out. Never happened to me. With my eyes open, I'll never forget, my teammates ran over, they said, Ink, get up, let's go. I said, I can't. I can't move. I said, what do you mean you can't move? Y'all locked down corner, man. We need you. Let's go. I said, I know, man, but this time I can't move. I flipped my head up to the sky and said, God. I said, surely nothing has happened in this moment that can alter my life. They got me over to the hospital. They took me back and ran CAT scans. They brought me back into my room. And all in a 15-second time frame, the doctor came running in from the opposite side. He said, hey, get in there. We got to rush this guy back to emergency surgery. He's about to die.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control.
I mean, the technology is great. You know, it's lots of fun, very helpful, makes a lot of things easy. But like anything in the world, there is too much of a good thing, you know? And I think one of the things we don't talk about is what is the balance of technology in our lives. And I would argue that for many of us, it's out of balance. We know that the chemical dopamine is released whenever we get a bing, buzz, flash, or beep from our phone or email, right? So dopamine is the exact same chemical that's released in alcohol, nicotine, and gambling, right? In other words, it can be addictive if left unbalanced. A little alcohol is great. Too much alcohol, not so great. Gambling is fun. Too much gambling, really bad, right? Technology is wonderful. Too much technology can be very destructive and destroy our relationships, like all addictions destroy our relationships, right? And so one of the things we're not considering is what is the right balance. If you wake up in the morning and you check your phone before you say good morning to your spouse, that's a problem, right? If you have phantom beeps, that's a problem. That comes from something, right? If you find yourself incapable of getting through a day without needing to check, that's a problem, right? Now, where it gets really dangerous is with kids, millennials. Some of them aren't kids anymore. Right.
So almost all alcoholics on the planet discovered alcohol when they were children. When we're very, very young, the only thing we need is the approval of our parents. Right? When we go through adolescence, we now need approval from our peers. frustrating for our parents, very important for us because it allows us to acculturate outside of our immediate families into the larger group, right? Very stressful time, and we're supposed to learn in this time of anxiety to rely on our friends, to reach out to our friends for help. That's what we're supposed to learn. Some people, quite by accident, discover alcohol, and then they learn the numbing effects of dopamine actually help them get through the stress of adolescence. This connection, unfortunately, becomes hardwired. And so, for the rest of their lives, when they face any kind of financial, career, or social stress, they don't turn to a person, they turn to the bottle, right? Now, we have age restrictions on alcohol, cigarettes, and gambling, because we know that an immature mind is not yet strong enough or mature enough to deal with the powers of these addicting chemicals, these addictive chemicals, right? So we put an age limit. We have no such age limit or age restriction on social media or cell phones, right? So ostensibly what we've done is we've thrown open the liquor cabinet and we've said to our adolescents, hey, I know this whole adolescent thing is really stressful, so here's the vodka, take as much as you need. That's basically what we've done. And so what we have is an entire generation that's growing up addicted. And like all addicts, they haven't learned the skill set of when they suffer stress to turn to a person. What they do is they turn to the device. And what that only does is increase senses of isolation and loneliness, and can actually destroy relationships. We've all had the experience where you're with somebody, walking down the street, in a meeting, out for dinner, whatever, and they pull out their phone and you feel like an idiot, right? Or when you're talking to them and they're going, and you're sort of like, what's the point of this? Now take an entire generation that has no memory of a time before the device. We at least can reference times before cell phones and internet and social media. We at least have a point of reference. They don't. So this is their normal, but that's how they feel. So you have an entire generation growing up with addiction and an increased sense of loneliness and isolation. We're already seeing the results. We're seeing increased rates of suicide amongst this generation. We're seeing increased rates of accidental deaths due to overdoses amongst this generation. We're seeing increased numbers of mass homicides, largely performed by this generation. School shootings, over 70% perpetrated by kids born after the year 1984. Schools, universities are now dealing with numbers they've never dealt with before of kids requesting leaves of absence due to depression. We're already seeing it, right? We're seeing the effects of loneliness and isolation. We're seeing it, and yet we're not reacting to it. We're not doing anything about it, right? And parents are a lot to blame for this. Because parents, there are some schools who want to restrict phones in schools, and it's the parents who demand that they keep their phones in case of emergencies. Seriously? Seriously? When was the last time the cell phone was used for an emergency? What time are you coming home? What time should we pick you up? And if there is an emergency, you call the office, and they know what classroom the kid's in, and in 5 minutes, they'll bring the kid to talk to you on the phone. Like, the old way worked just fine. Remember we talked before about innovation. It has to solve a real human problem. What human problem exactly did we solve by compressing the 5-minute time frame? We added to the problem, we didn't solve it. So that's one huge problem. So combine that with the fact, so you have an addicted generation that doesn't have the skill set to ask for help. Combine with the fact that they're so good at Facebook and Instagram, they're good at putting filters on everything. So they're good at showing you how smart and strong they are. These kids who commit suicide, you go look at their Instagrams, you would have no clue that they were depressed because they're happy and they're star athletes, right? You'd have no clue because they're really good. So when we say silly things like, my door is always open, you're assuming they have the courage to come in. Combined with the fact that they're subject largely, not all, but too many, to a failed parenting strategy. Because their parents told them they were special, they could have anything they wanted, they could be anything they want. They got medals for coming in last, which by the way we know doesn't work. It devalues the medal for the one who comes in first, and the one who came in last, it makes them feel stupid because they know they didn't deserve it, right? The kids got into honors classes not because they deserved it, but because the parents complained. And some of them got good grades not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents. And then the kids graduate college, and they get a job, and in an instant, they find out they're not special. They don't get anything for coming in last. Their parents can't get them a promotion, and you can't have whatever you want just because you want it. And in an instant, their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-confidence than previous generations. So you have lower self-confidence than previous generations, combined with an inability to ask for help with things that you're struggling with, and you turn to social media or a device. You keep checking, you count your likes, you count your likes, you count your followers, you count your followers. And if somebody unfriends you, oh my God, it's trauma, right? The way they break up with each other is they just ghost each other, just cut each other out and stop returning texts and returning phone calls, because they don't have the skill set to say, hey, it's not working out. It's not me, it's you, right? There's no closure on things, right? Combined with the fact there's an institutionalized impatience. So they've grown up in a world of instant gratification. You want to buy something, you go on Amazon, it shows up the next day. You want to get in touch with someone, you don't leave a message on their machine and wait 4 hours for them to get the message, you just text them and they get back to you immediately. You want to watch a movie, you just log on and watch it. You don't have to check movie times, right? Everything happens instantly. You want to get a date, swipe right. You don't even have to muster up the courage to go up like, hey, you don't have to. There you go, got a date, right? And so the problem is, they're accused of being entitled. I don't think they're entitled at all. Not at all. I think they're impatient. I keep meeting these fantastic, smart, driven, ambitious, idealistic, fantastic kids who graduated school, they got a job, they want to make an impact in the world, and I go up to them and say, how's it going? And they say, I think I'm going to quit. I'm like, why? They're like, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here 8 months. And it's as if they see the summit of a mountain. It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain, they can see the summit, they can see the thing they want to make an impact. What they don't see is the mountain. This large, immovable object. You can go up fast, you can go up slow, I don't care, but there's still a mountain. What they don't understand is that life, that relationships, and career fulfillment are a journey. There's no app for that. I got nothing. You gotta go through the slow, plodding, annoying, meandering process called career and life.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
Who are you allowing to influence you? Are they challenging you, inspiring you, pushing you forward? You don't have time to waste with people that bring out the worst in you. Life is flying by. We don't get a do-over. This is it. Well, what if I hurt their feelings? What if you miss your destiny? What if they keep you from becoming who you were created to be? They may not want it bad enough. They may be okay with mediocrity, compromise, and barely getting by in life. That's their choice, but that's not who you are. You have seeds of greatness. You're destined to leave your mark. You weren't created to fit in, to be average, to live with addictions, dysfunction, lack, struggle. You were created to stand out in the crowd, to be a cut above. Now do your part and distinguish yourself. Be willing to do what others won't do. Yes, it takes discipline. Yes, you have to say no to carnal desires, but the pain of discipline is less than the pain of regret. It's hard to bite your tongue, not say what you feel, but that pain is less than the pain of having someone you love walk away. It's hard to lay off the junk food, things that are not good for you. That pain is less than the pain of not being healthy. It's hard to break away from a friend that's pulling you down, but that pain is less than not reaching your dreams. One of the saddest things is to come to the end of life and wonder what I could have become. What if I wouldn't have let those people talk me out of my miracle? What if I would have broken away from those friends that were causing me to compromise? Where would I be? What if I would have treated my spouse with respect? What if I would have taken that step of faith in my career and not played it safe all the time? You don't have to wonder. You can start right now. It is not too late to become who God's created you to be.
And the only way you can set the example is you have to always be willing to work. I don't follow people who talk about what they used to do in life. I don't give a fuck what you used to do. I don't care that, you used to be the basketball. I don't care. What are you doing today? You may not be that person now, but what are you still doing to try to excel in life? And a lot of people now are talking. I hear so much talk. I don't hear a lot of work. I hear a lot of people telling you what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, how you should be fucking living. And I look at them and you're fat, you're out of shape, you look like shit, but you're telling a motherfucker how to live. No, man, I won't listen to you. There's so many people speaking this shit. And that's what bothered me a lot in the military. There's a lot of people talking shit. I don't see the real suffering behind it, behind what you're saying. That's why everybody said, man, you talk with so much passion because it's a real fucking place. It sucks to get up in the morning time. It was raining like cats and dogs. I don't want to get my shoes on and go run. But guess what? I got my shit on and ran. We all have time. We all have time. What you've done wrong is that you didn't prioritize yourself. You didn't prioritize that, look, motherfucker, I got to get up and win this war today against myself. I need to look better. I need to feel better. I need to eat better. I need to prioritize time. We waste so much time on our little gadgets. It's unreal. And we talk about we have no time. If you really you have to take your day and write down this one day. Everything you do, write that down. And you're like, my God, I am wasting so much time on frivolous bullshit. It's not even funny. I mean, it will, if it doesn't infuriate you, it should. Because there's so much time. I can't get it in. Look at your schedule. You just wasted 7 hours today on bullshit. I mean, and you don't have an hour a day to try to get something in for yourself. I guarantee everybody can find an hour. It's fucking miserable. It is miserable. I mean, to get up every day or 5 days a week, whatever, when it's snowing, shiny, not shiny, not comfortable, and to go in the gym and work out when you don't want to go to the gym, it is not fun. You want it very fast. If you don't see results in the first 2 days or the first week, I'm done. That's the mentality of most people. The struggle is too real. We're not patient. We, like, in a world where you can Google the best restaurants around me right now, no one is patient. And for you to lose weight, for you to stop drinking, whatever the hell you're going through, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of time, and a lot of pitfalls, a lot of plateaus. You're gonna hit so many fucking plateaus. If you don't know how to get around that plateau, it's not gonna happen fast.
Here we are as one consciousness, being systematically divided and played off against each other. So we are in conflict and division, and a few hands on the strings of all sides can play us off against each other and therefore go on driving the human family into a Orwellian global dystopia. Up to this point, unchallenged, because we're too busy fighting ourselves. We're not supposed to know that we are all one, because the potential for people coming together in common cause is too great. Coming together in common cause to demand freedom. We are not looking at random events. What is happening now has not just come out of nowhere. It's been planned for enormous amounts of time. And through this process, everything has been put into place so that it can be played out now. As that which has been in the hidden all these decades, all these centuries, has now entered the room and put itself on public display.
What is life? And what is the meaning of life? Does life even have a meaning? Life is consciousness, and it is learning to understand what this consciousness is, what it means, and also to understand where this consciousness lies, where it exists in the realm of things. People will say, well, it exists within your head, within your brain. But even as you say this, you know that the statement simply can't be true because it's just too big. All that thought and all that memory. Just stop and look inside yourself and truly perceive your thoughts just for a moment. It's so vast, this realm of space that lies within consciousness. It feels like a whole universe in there, doesn't it? And yet it lies within an intangible nothingness. And it feels like that, because that's exactly what it is. Nothing. Nothingness. But conscious. It's certainly something worth considering. And what is nothingness? Well, Alan Watts summed it up more than eloquently in a statement he made when he said that nothing is what your head looks like to your eyes, and that nothingness is what's watching. And I truly can't think of a better description. Nothingness, consciousness, coexists in that space behind your eyes. You can't have something here without having that nothing there. So you need to be aware of that nothingness, the nothingness that lies behind your eyes, because it is within that nothingness that lies consciousness. And it's all connected. It's connected to ourselves, it's connected to each other, and it's connected to everything in the universe. You need to open your mind to see this, and once you've seen it, the more you can begin to realize it. And the more you realize it, you can quite literally feel it physically, like a warmth and a rise in frequency in your body, the true realization that there is no other. There is only one. And all that truly exists within that singularity is love.